Hello and welcome to my channel. My name is hautemesstom and thank you so much for clicking on this video. If you are new here, my channel is all about loving my collection as it currently is, being critical of new makeup releases, and also being very considerate about what we bring into our makeup collections. If that kind of content sounds good to you, I would love to have you subscribe. You can also like this video, which also helps me in the algorithm. And And I'm also on Patreon if you would like to support me there, where I post 2 additional videos every month. Today, what I would like to do is some makeup chores with you. I want to go through all of my singles, do some swatching, potentially get rid of some of my singles, anything that if I have overlap to just kind of get rid of. And I'm only doing my singles or anything that I have depotted and is in one of these magnetic palettes. And I say that specifically because I have Natasha Denona palettes that I pull from whenever I'm making my own palette. I have Viseart shadows that I pull from, but most of those shadows are in palettes. And I'm not fussing with like getting rid of some shadows in some of my palettes, even if I might not like them as much as other shades in that palette. That's not what we're gonna do here, unless I ever decide to fully depot those shades and put them in a magnetic palette. But I don't think that's gonna happen anytime soon, so let's just get started. First and foremost, my Cliona shades, they're not going anywhere. I also have some in this palette over here, and I'm also missing some in a palette that I made myself last month. And if you missed that and wanted to see me making that palette, I will link that in the cards and down below for you. But yes, these Cliona shades are not going anywhere. And basically what I'm going to do with the rest of these magnetic palettes is to open them up and depot them and just put all of my singles on this table and remove these from the equation, remove the palettes from the equation, and sort them by shade and do some swatching and see what inspires me and what doesn't. This is all of my Sugar Pill shades. Now, I had the Pro Pan palette and I removed them from that. And I did that very specifically because I had enough shades to fill the Sugar Pill Pro Pan palette. However, I don't know that I like all of the shades that are in the Pro Pan palette that I had made. Like, I've never used this gunmetal shade, and if I find another version of the gunmetal shade somewhere else in my singles, I might depart with it, but we'll see. This is just really a formula check, so I'm just gonna get all of these out of here. So this is kind of where I've put all of the rest of my brights. In here, these are shades from the Violet Voss, like Vibrant palette that I had for a bit. And then these are depotted from the Melt Radioactive palette, which I got rid of the packaging earlier this year because I didn't want to have the bulk of the palette, but I wanted to keep the shades because when I want to play with brights, I want to have the option to play with brights, but I'm not always playing with brights. That's just not what I do. So let me get these out of here. In this palette, I have like a number of things going on. So I have a couple shades from Coastal Scents, a couple shades from Colored Rain singles. These are Pat McGrath palettes that I have depotted, and they were the ones that came in like the flip open cardboard packaging that Pat McGrath does. They're not from a mothership, so don't be concerned. I did not depot a mothership. I have no advice on how to depot a mothership. I was able to successfully depot some of the Pat McGrath ones. So, and then I also have some shades from the Love palette from Natasha Denona, which I owned the whole palette at one point, and I just held on to the shades that I liked. So in here, this was like the Mothership Mega, these ones in the center. Down here, these are shades from the Natasha Denona Sunset palette. This is from the Mothership Mega. This is up here is from a Kevin Aquan palette I depotted. And then over here, these are from the Cool Mattes palette from Viseart. I'm gonna keep the face items out of this project. I'm not so concerned about them. So I'm gonna go from my smallest categories to my largest categories, and I think I'm gonna zoom you in and out depending on the size of that particular collection. These are all from Sugar Pill, these bigger pans. This is the shade Candy Crush, and I have no idea if all of these shades will even be available anymore. I don't know what is. This is the shade Kimchi, which I still believe they carry. This is the shade The Inventor. I don't know that I have anything like these three in my collection elsewhere. Maybe I would have something like Candy Crush in with my Cleonas, which, let's just take a look. I don't think I have any light blues. So I swatched some more things just to see. These are some of my Cleona shades on my arm. The thing is, I don't have anything that's an exact dupe for it. But I also don't know how it's pretty. It is pretty. So I think whenever I want a blue moment and that, like, it would call for that particular exact type of blue, that's great. I don't have anything like Kimchi in my singles collection, so that will stay. I'm a little bit torn on this gunmetal color. It is like pretty, but is it pretty enough to keep around, right? Like, is that special? I don't think it is. I think that's the first one that we're gonna get rid of. This is from the Violet Voss Vibrant palette. That's really pretty, very stunning. I don't think that's gonna go anywhere. I don't have anything like that. And then this is from a Kevin Aquan palette. That's a very cool color. It's very grungy. I don't think I have anything like that. My next smallest category are my reds. I don't know that any of these are going to go anywhere, but I am the most curious about these two reds. This is Love Plus from Sugar Pill, and this is from the Love palette from Natasha Denona. And Love Plus is like a really pretty red. I have an older formulation. I know they've reformulated this relatively recently. Like, oof, oof. That's what we have going on here. Love Plus is pretty crumbly. My Sugar Pill shadows are a couple years old. Like, even in that swatch, you can see how it just doesn't have the same pigmentation. So these are both close enough that I'm gonna keep Love Plus, and I'm gonna get rid of the one from the Natasha Denona Love palette. I have three more shades. This is from the Natasha Denona Sunset palette. This is from the Pat McGrath palette. I think this is from the Mega Ship. And I believe this is also from the Mega Ship. I like all three of these enough to keep them. I don't think I have anything else in my singles collection, at least, that is going to be on par with them. This is different enough. This is like definitely not supposed to be the same kind of red that Love Plus is, so I'm comfortable keeping it in my collection for now. These are all of my single yellow shades, and I clearly don't have too many. Now, on screen, they all look kind of like the same level of yellow, but they are all a little bit different. So I'm just gonna swatch them all, see what resonates with me and what doesn't. This is Butter Cupcake from Sugar Pill, and I don't think they make this shade anymore. This is from the Violet Voss Neon Vibrant palette that I had. I have no idea what it was called. I only had it for like a hot second before I depotted it. This is from the Radioactive, and this is from the Natasha Denona Sunset palette. The one thing to note is that the Radioactive one, the one from the Radioactive palette, this has some shimmer in it, which none of the other ones do. This one definitely is different from the other one, so I'm definitely keeping that one. Butter Cupcake and this one from Natasha Denona look really different in the pan to me. It looks like to me that they're not supposed to be the same shade of yellow. However, they kind of swatched the same, but I'm wondering if there's some nuances that we would get on the eye. So I think right now, I'm gonna keep all of my yellows. I'm gonna keep all of them. Next up is my green section, which for some reason put Taco from Sugar Pill in. I'm keeping Taco. It's my favorite white shade I've ever used. And then I have all of these beautiful greens. So this is a duochrome. This is from Pat McGrath. This is very much like that duochrome that like, you know, like it feels like every palette has that like brown, green, purple shift. This is Forbidden from Colored Rain. And I picked this up whenever I bought the Queen of Hearts palette. This is from the Radioactive palette. And this is also from the Radioactive palette from Melt. This is Midori from Sugar Pill. This is from that Violet Voss palette, the Undetermined, Unnamed Violet Voss palette. I know it's a discontinued palette. This is also from the Melt palette. And this is from one of the Pro palettes from Norvina. Midori. Radioactive. This Norvina one's pretty cruddy. I'm gonna get rid of that one. I never really liked it, but I had less like limes in my collection at the time. So I'm okay calling it on that one. As far as the rest of them go, I'm gonna keep these two shimmers out, and then I think I'm gonna keep all of the rest of them. However, with the two shimmer shades, I would like to see versus some of my Cliona shades. And I am preferring my Cliona shades to the singles that I have, only like the other singles that I have, only because the texture of these I like a lot more than I like the textures of some of the other shadows I have. And if there is a duochrome, like that's to me is a little more special. And I know there's a time and a space for shimmer shades, but that don't have multi-chromes, but I don't know that that's what I'm interested in right now. Okay, so this is the Forbidden shade from Colored Rain. I'm not going to say the names of all of the Cliona shades. If you want to know more about my Cliona collection, I actually have a video where I swatch all of my Cliona shades. And so I'm going to leave that up there for you to watch if that's something that you're interested in. Only because I don't know all of these well enough to be able to like tell you which one's which. And I hate lifting them up to figure it out because I've broken them before. It's like a whole to-do. Okay, Forbidden. And then Cliona. So these two are pretty similar, obviously. And obviously this one's going to have more of a shift to it because it is a multi-chrome. It is maybe just a hair lighter, like a smidgen lighter. However, I don't know. Because I do actually really like the formula from Colored Rain. I like never used this single shade, but I really have never started making my own palettes till recently. So I think we're gonna let this one live a little bit longer in my collection because it's not the exact same. If the shade was like a little more on the nose, but they are like definitely in the same realm, the same family. And then we have this guy, this shifting one from the Pat McGrath Mothership Mega Ship palette from last year. That's it. I don't know. I'm not as inspired by this, and I feel like I have something similar in some of my Natasha Denona palettes. And since I can, I'd rather keep the Natasha Denona shades in the Natasha Denona palettes instead of saving this one from Extinction from my collection. So I think I'm going to pass on that one. And just so you know, I'm going to offer all of these single shadows to some friends, obviously, before, and if no one wants them, then I will take out the product and recycle the pan, just so everyone's aware, for transparency's sake. I am just going to be covered in shimmer, and we're just going to have to live with that. That's our cross to bear, meaning my cross to bear, but you are here on this journey with me, so it is also your cross to bear. Okay, let's move along. Okay, now it's time for my oranges. I'm going to try to put them in like what might be the closest to the other situation, but I don't know that I have that down to like a a perfect science. We'll keep the shimmers out of it for now and just take a look at the mattes. This is also from the Norvina palette that I had, and I have a friend who did like a singular eye look with this shade, and I saved it because of their look. This is from the Violet Voss palette. This is Flame Point from Sugar Pill. This is also from that Violet Voss palette. It's more of a coral, so all right. The Violet Voss shades are kind of crumbly. I don't know what that's about. However, at first sight, I feel like this one's definitely much better than that green one. Like, look at that payoff. So I'm going to keep that orange. I like Flame Point a lot, so I'm going to keep that. I don't know that the shade does anything for me, so I'm going to get rid of it. That one's one of the ones from Violet Voss. I want to play with this coral shade on my eyes before I make any decisions about it. This is from the Sunset palette from Natasha Denona. And I'm gonna keep that one around. I like that shade a lot. Singles are kind of messy, aren't they? They're just kind of messy. That's just kind of their vibe. We have Melt Radioactive, Natasha Denona Sunset, and then the Pat McGrath Mother Mega Ship. Okay, so this looks like what I kind of expected this one to look like swatched. Oh no, they're very different. I really like these two shades from the Sunset palette. You can see my finger, like you can see that I've put my fingers in these ones quite a bit. Like I really like these two shades. So I'm gonna keep those because I know from use. This shade really impressed me. I really liked it. And while this shade is like very pretty from the Pat McGrath palette, it's like, is it anything I need? I don't think so. To be quite honest, like if I'm going to be like duping the vibes of a palette, I guess I'm like just not so concerned about like the neutral shades, because I do have, especially like neutral mattes, because I do have the 1X Grand Pro palette from Viseart. That's like another thing that I'm keeping in mind. Okay, surprisingly, my next biggest one is pinks. So I'm gonna reorganize these for a second. I'm gonna hold off on the shimmers for now and start with the mattes. And so we will start with these ones. So I have two from that palette from Violet Voss, and then I have Dolly Pop, which is a shade that Sugar Pill doesn't make anymore. And then I also have Tokyo. They're all very different. I know that I love Tokyo from Sugar Pill and I love Dolly Pop from Sugar Pill, so I'm not gonna get rid of those. And I actually really like the look of both of these as well. Here I have some like pinky mattes. This one is from the Viseart Cool Mattes palette. And then the other three are actually from the Natasha Denona Love palette. I don't think any of these are similar. My only questioning is this one from Viseart. This is from like the first Viseart palette I ever had, which I bought like 5 years ago. I will say it feels a little crusty, and I think because I do have the Viseart Grand Pro, I'm gonna have an equivalent shade to this. And depotting these, I had some issues with, because the packaging I got my original Viseart Cool Mattes palette in was the one where they did not make them removable for whatever reason. So I had to like ply these out and melt. It was like a whole to-do. Anyway, this doesn't feel right. Actually, you know, I would say my Sugar Pill palette, my Sugar Pill shades that are a little bit older also kind of have an interesting crustiness to them. But with the Sugar Pill ones, I'm kind of willing to overlook them because Sugar Pill formula performs really well. And this, it's something that I have many times over in my collection. But also, this is from Natasha Denona. You can see it just a little bit better. So I'm gonna go ahead and say for now, I will be keeping these mattes. This is from the Radioactive palette. This is from La Vie en Rose from Pat McGrath. This one is also from La Vie en Rose from Pat McGrath. If not, this one's from could be from the Golden palette from Pat McGrath. These are both from the Mothership Mega, and then this is from the Love palette from Natasha Denona. Ooh. I'm gonna swatch this Love Palette one next to that Pat McGrath one because I think they might read similarly, but I could be wrong. No, they're different. They're different. I like all of these. I wasn't expecting to like all of these. I thought I was be able to get rid of some, but I think all of these are nice enough. These are very pretty. I like those. This is a really pretty arm. I don't know why I'm like upset about it, but I am. So with these two, let me just like cross-reference some Cleona. Okay, I swatched some Cleona shades and I don't have anything like these, so I will be keeping those and I will be putting this away for the time being. Purple is my next biggest range, so let me do some rearranging. Mattes first. Now I have two more shades from Viseart. I'm going to pass on these because they are from that palette that I had mentioned earlier that beigey pink came from. And I think the time in my collection is just kind of over. Then we're left with the rest of these mattes. So let's just do a little swatch party. This is Poison Plum and 2 AM from Sugar Pill. Violet Voss. This is from one of the Pat McGrath palettes. I think this is from La Vie en Rose. If not, it's from the Golden Opulence palette. I'm gonna hold off on swatching that one because in person, these look a little bit closer together than they do in the camera. So I'm curious to see how those will swatch next to each other. I don't think I like this purple. It didn't swatch very well. That doesn't mean it would wear poorly, but I just don't like the shade of it. It's like not purple enough. It's leaning more pink. I'm also a little stumped on 2 AM from Sugar Pill, but what I will say is Poison Plum I very much enjoy, so I will for sure be keeping Poison Plum. I'm gonna swatch some more of these ones. So from Pat McGrath, I think this is also from Pat McGrath, but this is from the Mothership Mega. This is from Coastal Scents. It is Wisteria, R.I.P. And I believe this is also from the Mothership Mega. Also, I realized this isn't matte, and I just put it in with the mattes. Whatever. I'm not gonna reach for this. I just am not. It's not that I don't like the quality of the Coastal Scents formula. It is more like, it's just not it. It's just not it as far as a shimmer goes. Even for like a regular shimmer, it's not giving. It's not giving, and I don't need this matte creamy shade. However, I do like both of these ones. And so while I'm not a big fan of this, I have an idea for my next self-made palette, which I'm literally going to record after I'm done filming this video, or kind of like in the middle of recording this video, but it won't be part of this video. Anyway, these are all going to stay. Okay, so I've kind of whittled these down into even smaller sections. So I think maybe some of these four might look alike. So I have one from the Love palette from Natasha Denona. I have two from the Mothership Mega. Nope, this one's from the Mothership Mega. This is Amethyst. This one is also from Coastal Scents. And then this is from the La Vie en Rose palette. Kind of as suspected, they look less the same on camera than they do in real life, but these two are reading very similar to me. So I think I'm gonna keep the one from the Love palette from Natasha Denona and get rid of the Pat McGrath one. And actually, Amethyst is really pretty, and I like it a lot more than the Wisteria pink shade that I just got rid of. So I think I'm gonna keep both of those. In the pan, these two look similar in real life, but now I'm looking in the monitor. This one's definitely more blue than this one, but let's see how they swatch. This is from the Radioactive palette from Melt, and this is from La Vie en Rose. So they're the same, they're like similar. So I actually think I like the purple from La Vie en Rose from Pat McGrath over this one, and I think they would read very similarly on the eye. So I'm going to keep the Pat McGrath one and get rid of the melt one. And then for these last 4, it's going to be more of like a swatch party situation. This looks a lot more pink on camera than it does in real life, but this is from the Mothership Mega. These 3 are from the Mothership Mega from 2020. And then this is from the Radioactive palette. I like all 4 of these, so I'm going to be keeping those. I'm going to zoom you out here a bit because these are all like of my neutrals and my golds and whatever. So I'm going to take a little moment to organize these. These 3 are from that old Viseart palette. I'm just going to get rid of those like I did with the others. All right, I don't really know that I have a good way of doing this, so let me just proceed. I'm gonna start with these 3 matte creams. They're not gonna be the same shade at all, but I'm gonna keep all of these. This is another Viseart one. I'm just gonna pass on that. And I'm trying not to rush through this because I do wanna be considerate, but I'm going to keep all of these ones from the Natasha Denona Sunset palette. These ones right here as well. And basically all of these mattes are different enough to pass along and keep. But I do feel like I might be able to consolidate some shimmers. This is from the Pat McGrath Mega palette. This is from the Sunset palette. They're definitely different. I feel like I got rid of a shade similar to this one earlier, so I'm going to keep both of those. And then I have this one from Pat McGrath and then this one from Kevyn Aucoin. They look pretty similar to me in the pan. They look pretty similar to me on my finger. They look similar to me on the arm. The Kevyn Aucoin one has a little bit more yellow to it, which is interesting. However, they are too close for me to keep both. So I'm going to keep the Pat McGrath one because it just has like a larger pan and that, in my opinion, makes more sense to keep. I know I'm keeping this. This is Pale Fire. I know the shade of this one. This one's Pale Fire. This is from Pat McGrath's La Vie en Rose palette. And I had this as a single for a while in one of her like her single compacts, and it is one of the prettiest shades. But I gave my other Pale Fire to Tiffany so she could have it. Let's take a look at these golds. These 3 are so unique from the rest of the shimmers that I have left, so I'm just going to now focus on these little doubles because in real life these duets look pretty similar. This is from the Mothership Mega, and this is what I believe this is from the Golden Opulence palette from Pat McGrath. I really like that one. I mean, that one's pretty, and they don't look anything alike, so we will keep both. Let's take a look at these more true golds. Both of these are also Pat McGrath shades. That's not true. This is from Colored Rain. This is the shade Superstar. Nope, they're also very different. And then I have these 2 left. One is from Pat McGrath, and one is from the Natasha Denona Sunset palette. Those are also very different. So I will be keeping all of those. I am going to try to pass as many of these along as I can. I am just going to get rid of the Viseart shades, but all of the shades that I still feel like are fresh enough to pass on, I will be trying to pass on. And that is what's going. And then I will put everything away from you after I make my other palette. Let's put all this away. I actually think I kind of like the idea of color coding everything, so let me do that. Okay, and maybe I'll try to match it to the exterior of the palette, but I can't promise that. So I'm gonna start with my purples and pinks, and try to get them all in here. I apologize to you if you are someone who gets real butthurt about pans not going perfectly in a palette, but that's life, baby. That's life. You know what? I'm actually going to put my reds in here as well. And now I'm gonna actually leave this palette at that. And then in this one, I'm gonna put my orange, greens, and blues. Since I don't have that many oranges, I'm also gonna put them in here, as well as my yellow. I'll put this one in here as well. And then I think, ooh, and this blue. I'm gonna leave that one at that. And then I'm gonna put all of my neutrals in this one. Pulled that one out for a different reason. It wasn't part of this. Don't worry about her. That's on that. That's on period. That's on full stop. I have these for face shades. I'm gonna also put them in here, even though it's risky to put anything next to the Cliona shades, because you're always gonna get a little bit of a mix and mingle scenario going on with those. But that's okay. We love that. We love that. That's what makes the Cliona shades so special, is that they are weak. Fragile. Okay, I have some great news. Okay, this means nothing to anyone, but okay. This palette has plagued my makeup drawer for quite a bit. It is really big, and if I was a professional makeup artist, a working makeup artist in the industry, this would be really nice, right? It's big, it would hold a lot of shadows, and like it's sturdy. It is in fact the palette that did break all of my Cliona shades, because I think the Cliona shades are fragile, but also this is pretty heavy. It doesn't really fit in my drawer very well. And I have those two big Natasha Denona palettes that also are a problem. However, that means that I can leave this out of my makeup drawer for the time being. Now, if I buy any more singles, I will actually, I will use this again. But for right now, it feels good to have this a little bit removed from the situation. Thank you all so much for doing some makeup chores with me. That was something I needed to do. I feel really good about it. If you enjoyed watching this video, I would love to have you subscribe. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Don't forget to like this video on your way out if you appreciated the content. And I am also on Patreon if you would like to support me there. I also have a podcast called Recollect. It's a music podcast. It's a lot of fun. Check that out in the links down below if you want to hear more from me and my friend Tiffany. We are a lot of fun. And then also, you can follow me on Instagram. That's all linked down below as well. I look forward to seeing you in my next video. And remember to follow your haute, and you will find me. Thank you again for watching. I will see you next time. Bye, friends.